Hi guys, this is Julie
And James.
from Connecting Japan, and we thought we'd do a video today about the myths that surround missionaries, the 4 myths that surround missionaries, because we get a lot of comments from people. They're not necessarily Christians, they could just be people off the street and they just don't understand what we're doing. So we thought we'd clear the air here and give you those 4. So, number one.
Well, I mean, number one, obviously, it's all about going on a holiday, isn't it? Well, all right, no, it's not.
No.
No. I mean, we constantly still get people going, oh, how long are you going for? A couple of weeks, a month? Well, no, we're going for years. 2 years to start with, potentially however long we feel like staying. I mean, there's missionaries that have been on the field more than 10 years. So when people keep saying, oh, you're just going for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, we're not just going out for a little while. We're going out to change our lives, definitely, but to change the people who we're going to be there for. So anyone that keeps saying it's just a little trip, it's a bit of a holiday, no. We're going there. We're not going to see the sights. We're not going to tour the country. We're going there to be involved in the church, Waku Waku Life Church. We're going there to be involved with the people that need the help and to find out what that help is. It's definitely a full-time job. So yeah, it's nowhere anything like a holiday.
Yeah, that doesn't mean to say that we don't get time to ourselves. The average furlough can be anywhere between 3 months to maybe 5 or 6, depending on why they have to come back, whether it's personal. We do need to keep raising support, so even though we're doing it full steam ahead right now, we will still have to do it over time because churches may change and missions may change in certain areas and that sort of thing. So that's the reason why some people come back. So, and again, for that reason alone, they're not going for a holiday either. They actually have a distinct purpose. And when they do come back, they also have to follow up with a CCI, which is required of all of us. With regards to how long people stay, it also depends on the project. Some of our friends have come back to Australia because one of the reasons has been that their project has ended, and that usually means it's passed on to the local people. So it's not a bad thing. That's the end goal that we all want to do. So we'll go into myth number 2. Usually when they say missionaries, we're just going over there to dig a well, or we're going to paint something, or
Feed hungry kids, build mud brick homes.
Now, just remember that, and I'm not being geopolitical when I say this, that there are third world countries like mostly Africa and some parts of Middle East that, they do require material provisions like food and water and hygiene and all that sort of thing. But in situations where that's very visible poverty, you can't take out of the equation that there is the spiritual poverty that we're going to see in Japan. So there is always training. Our friends even in Southeast Asia, and obviously for reasons that we're not going to go into that we can't say where they are, they do life skill programs and safety, because human trafficking, no matter where you are in the world, still occurs. So a lot of training is involved as well. And if the country is open to it, we also get the opportunity to tell them about Jesus and bring light into their world. So that's partly what we're going to be doing. So we will be doing a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, obviously missions is feeding people and supplying water. I've seen some really good ones around, but it's not just that. And a lot of people think that's all about. When you mention missions or going onto the missions field, a lot of people do just think of the third world countries, the real poverty-stricken countries. But of course, the true mission of the church is to spread the gospel into all the world, which includes countries like Japan, even America, other countries like that. Missions is literally needing to get to every country to spread the word to every person on the planet. So it can't always be about the feeding and the building and the things like that, which is obviously needed in those countries where there are missionaries doing that. But it's not just about that. There is a lot of other things that we still get people go, Japan? Why would you need to go to Japan to do a mission? Well, that's because they don't understand the whole thing of spreading the word of God is our main mission.
Yeah. We also have to consider in Japan there's a lot of subcultures and we're addressing their issues. So obviously the most important thing missionaries have to ask when they get on the field, when they're talking to local people, is what are your needs? And those will vary exponentially from country to country, depending on how well developed they are. Have they overcome some of their difficulties, whether it's instability in government or they're coming out of wartime situation. In our instance, though, the subcultures we're looking at are the homeless. Yes, they do exist in Japan, and if you're going where the World Cup's on or during the Olympics, while you might not see that out in the open, they do exist. And the other subcultures are the hikikomori, the recluses, and again the people and those who are contemplating suicide or even actually even attempted it. They're sort of the sort of swept to the side parts of Japan that I don't want to talk about. But in saying that, we have to consider that they're probably the most important issues that Japan faces right now. And if we want to see Japan transformed, and bearing in mind this culture is very conformed and they're very unified in making sure that their country's the best, and that's not a bad thing. That's what we're there for. But we're also, one of the most important things a missionary can do is train future leaders. I mean, we foreigners are not meant to stay in the countries forever. We do have an expiration date. We work to God's timeline on that, and sometimes, like I said before, those timelines are cut short for a lot of reasons. But in saying that, we need to also be training future leaders, because there's only 8,000 churches in Japan. They really need to know God, and we can't do it ourselves, and neither can our pastors. So those people with gifts in the church, no matter what they are or what they're doing, they have they don't realise they have the power in their hands to really change their country. So we're going to point number 3.
Which is?
It's not just about connecting Japan. It's like we have to do these sort of videos and the social media because our society has built that way, and it's hard to have this continual conversation with people about what we're doing and when we're doing and that sort of thing. Now, granted, because we're doing in the fundraising stage and we have to send out mail and everything like that, that's important. But we're there for the people. The most important thing missionaries have to remember, and it's a common mistake that's been made throughout history, that's often construed that it's about us and big noting ourselves and that sort of thing. Now, no, it's important for us to stay humble, and I know a lot of my friends would agree with me out there. So like when we went to national, we got like the rock star treatment. Just quickly share this story. There's it's a pastors only conference mainly, but they do require missionaries to go, and we had our own section. So when the pastors went to sit in that section right up the top there, so we had a good view of the stage and everything. Like the ushers were going, no, you can't sit there. This is for them. Now, in saying that, and going to the Pan Asian Mission Conference in Thailand, and people applauding us, and these are pastors that are like phenomenal people that come along to these things. They're not doing it to put us on a pedestal or anything like that. They're just acknowledging that we are doing a valuable work, and saying that it's all very easy to get a big head, but the important thing is that we're there for the people, and we want to see their lives transformed. We're not there to tell them what to do. and that's another common mistake a lot of missionaries in the past have made. We don't consider ourselves any better than anybody else. We're just ordinary people doing something that a lot of people would just freak out about. So in saying that, it's really important for us to remember that we're God's servants and we're serving where He wants us to be.
Yeah, I would say that some of the, like a Pan Asia at National and that, I think in a way it's good that, because we haven't actually gone on the field, we haven't really started the whole journey on that side of things yet. But when you're out on the field, especially like Eugene and Fiona gave it in Fukuoka, they're there on their own. They have no real support. They've got the local church that they're building, but they're on their own. So to come back to these conferences and have people acknowledge what they're doing, if they've been feeling low, if they've been feeling they're not getting along with where their mission's going and stuff, that can be a good pick-me-up. And we all need that from time to time. We can all have low points, and sometimes you just need that bit of a pick-up. So being acknowledged as to what you're doing and where you're going, I think that is something that missionaries probably do need on a regular basis, because their work can be very hard at times, and depending on the country and depending on how much in-country support you have, you can start to get wary, get tired, get worn down, and start to wonder, where do I go from here? And then suddenly you come to a conference and you've got hundreds and if not thousands of people cheering you on, saying you're doing a great job. Well, that's what we all need in life. We all need a bit of a pick-me-up at times. So yeah.
Yeah. The other thing we would say on that note as well, it's not glamorous. I mean, we're in a country that's like one of the top 10 in the world, and we're expected to look a certain way and everything like that. But most missionaries that are currently out there at the moment, they are in accommodation that, I have one friend that's in the slums of the Philippines, and if you've even any idea what that feels like, to live in substandard conditions because you're on the ground doing, where they are, it's not glamorous. It is lonely. So that, like we said, the first few years is the toughest for any missionary starting out. And, we're fully aware of how tough things are. I mean, we're going through a lot of tough times ourselves right now. But I personally believe that we all have to go through these to be able to experience what it's going to be like on the field. So I can only say anybody who wants to be a missionary, if you've got that fire and that passion, then I would suggest going onto the acci.org.au website, going through their little quiz that they have, and then sitting down with some people and even your pastors and that sort of thing, and prayerfully consider being a missionary, because the work is not finished yet, and there's still 25% of the world that hasn't been reached for Christ yet. Japan is one of those. And we still need you guys, all right? And some of our missionary friends are getting older now, and we do need new blood to step up. So myth number 4 is we're not a brand. In saying that, like I said before, we do need to work with the social media because everybody uses it. So in saying that, connecting Japan as a name is something we thought up. The 2 leaves is the connection between us and the Japanese, and obviously green Australia, and the sort of rose gold is sort of also Australia and Asia mix, because if you've seen the writing, it's not like ordinary lettering and that sort of thing. We made it that way for a purpose, because we want the logo and everything to represent what we really want to see happen for the Japanese people, to go out of the darkness into the light. So, of course, you've got lots of social media influencers and people like that out there that actually are concentrated on the brand itself, but they tend to lose the fact that there's every organisation out there should have a vision, and that's something John Maxwell and lots of leaders have taught me over the years. So in saying that, the important thing, we still have to keep Jesus in the centre and people in their as we're serving them. So we would probably want to talk about what missionaries are supposed to do. So that was the myths. So this is what the reality is. It's about finding their needs, what we've already said. It's about listening to their stories. I've got some friends on Hello Talk that have really made some impacts. And we've met some people in Japan that have given some of their stories as well. But we've still got, there's still plenty more stories to come that we're going to hear about. So
I mean, one thing that we have as an advantage, of course, is that we're not going into a blank field. We're going to partner with Waku Waku Life Church, and they've done some amazing work. The groundwork they've done to build up relationships, prepare programs and stuff is great. Whereas if we were going in and there was nothing there yet, then we'd have to be hitting the ground and starting all that, finding out the needs of what people want. So we can slot in with them and just help expand, add on, work on new programs, but we're not going in completely blind because of the groundwork that they've been doing for quite a few years now. So that gives us a real advantage when we get there. We're not going in completely unaware, unlike some missionaries who do go into completely new mission fields, which is really hard to do. That's when it gets real hard, when you hit the ground and you've got absolutely nothing there, you've got virtually nobody you know, and you have to start from point blank. So I'm thankful that we're hitting a field to assist people that are already there, and that's going to make life a lot easier for us to start with. But where we go from there, who knows? That's the life of a mission. The life of missionaries is that you don't know where you're going. You'll go somewhere, you start there, and you could stay there for many years. You could move on to something else, or branch off as a plant from there, or who knows what you could do. So it's a real adventure that evolves as you go. You can prepare so much and you can make plans, but there's no guarantee that that's going to go the way you want it to as the years progress, because so many things can happen and change along the way. So.
Yeah, I'm saying that it's something that we're committed to as a lifestyle, and it's not. Again, it's also always back to having Jesus at the center. And for our friends that have gone off the field, like for them, it's we just, because we're not overseas does not mean we actually give up doing our stuff, because a lot of them are pastors and a lot of them are really making a difference in their communities. So we're doing it the other way around. We do a lot of things with our church at the moment, and they're very mission minded locally as well. So in saying that, guys, we just thought we'd give you this information. Hopefully that's helped you, and feel free to leave a comment below, and see you next time. Bye.